That was the reason I injured myself. I was overtraining myself. And the pain was excruciating. Even your worst enemy, you don't want him to have that pain. And the only thing that kept me going was the look on the faces of my kids. When you have ADHD, there's nothing wrong with you. And it almost looks like society is trying to let you believe that you got a deficit. There's something wrong with you. And initially, when I got diagnosed, I thought, I don't want the diagnosis because then I'm broken. There's something wrong about me. But it made me understand myself much better. Life is great. And it doesn't matter how many times you fall, as long as you get up.
Hello, hi Franka, and welcome
Hi.
to Unstoppable Women. I'm the host, Julie Tague, and I get to sit down with amazing women like yourself, hear about their stories, share the lessons that they've had on their journey. And I am so excited about this episode.
Same
To
here.
introduce you to the listeners, you are Franka van der Pol, and you're joining us from the Netherlands. You are a speaker and you are an advocate and passionate about women's health, in particular around ADHD, which you have yourself received a diagnosis for in recent years. And I know we'll come on to talk about that, because this is really about your journey through that and what that has meant to you. But you're a huge advocate for other women going through this, and in particular, women that might also be going through the menopause as well, and suffering from resilience and going through the ups and downs of everything life's got to throw at you. You are also an author. You have produced your own book, which I have been reading this week, and I have to say has made my week. I have laughed out loud on the train reading this book. It is absolutely fantastic, and we will include the link for the listeners with the podcast. It resonates so much to me, and so does your story, in that you are someone that has gone through a divorce, separation, you are a mum, you are such a colourful person, you live life of adventure, and the book really does highlight your ups and downs as you navigated the murky world of online dating. And there were so many bits that had me laughing out loud about your story and how you navigated the ex, the children, friends, and this very strange kind of almost semi-obsession with an app at the end of it, with the swiping and the excuses, etc. I love that. And so I know we'll touch a little bit on that as we get going. But to get us started, why don't you introduce yourself to the listeners? Who is Franka?
Well, I cannot really add a lot anymore because you already said everything. But yeah, I'm Franka. I'm 51, turning out 52 this year, and it still doesn't feel like me when I'm saying like I'm middle-aged. What you said, like divorced about 8 years ago, and my life was not really a straight road. It had some bumps, it had some bends, it had some turnarounds, roundabouts. In those turnarounds, I became a mom of 2, at this time, teenage kids. When I was like 18, 19, I thought that the world was on my feet, so I moved to Ibiza, of all places.
Wow. How is that?
Yeah, well, it was in the beginning of all those parties. And so, yeah, I just lived there for about a year, and I just walked around with big eyes like that. Like, oh my God, this happens on this world. But I don't know, I got a little bit of the habit of moving around in Europe. So when I was 26, I moved to Greece and stayed there for about 4 years and came back, stayed for love in Holland, because that's when I met the father of my kids, became a mom. And at the end, we decided to move to Spain, and there is where we divorced. So that is actually about the period that my book is about, the dating to start reconnecting with yourself. And what can I tell you more about myself? In Spain, I used to work in fitness. I was an extreme fanatic sporter. So I did weightlifting, bodybuilding. I had my business around sports, everything. I worked for some football teams to help them prevent injuries, and if they had an injury, to recover as soon as possible. And then I got injured myself. And actually from that moment on, I lost just everything. I lost my business. I lost my relationship was already gone, but I just lost everything. And from that moment on, I started rebuilding myself. So, and that is the moment also that I start writing the book. Just therapeutical, like. So I don't know what more to tell you about myself. It's just like you call it colorful. In my case, I'd call it like a bumpy road.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's unpick some of that then, because you have a life with so many different bits going on there. You're someone that's moved around a huge amount. And I even get this sense in the book. You connect and match with people that you don't think twice about jumping on a plane and going from
True.
Spain to Sweden, driving over the border into Portugal. I mean, I used to restrict my dating connections to 5 miles within London. It's like, I feel
Mine
like
was
you restricted
500.
5 countries within
Five
Europe. You
countries,
were like,
exactly.
yeah, and your circle was like round here somewhere. Like, just talk me through that. Your concept of distance and geography is just so different to mine, and I love it.
Maybe it's just because I moved to Spain when I was really young, and I already found out we didn't have any mobile. I'm old, you know. We didn't have any mobile phones, so I just had an agreement with my mom. Every Friday night I would call her. So I went to a payphone and I just called her. But when I was 26 and I moved again abroad, I just found out the world was really so small. You know, you got internet, you got phones. It's so easy to stay in contact with each other. Especially when I moved to Greece when I was 26. The friends that are still my closest friends, I met in that period and we never lost touch. So maybe that's why it's so easy for me that, you know, if you're just a few hours away, I don't care. If you're a few hours of flying away, I don't care. Because to me, the world is on your feet. The world is yours.
Yeah, yeah.
Why limit it to your own village? Why limit it to your own town?
It made me laugh so much, like just the difference of how I would get so picky and friends of mine would be like, oh, I'm going to restrict it down to, you know, like 2 miles. And you're always like, right, he's in Sweden. I've booked a flight. Off I go.
No. At that time, when we connected online, he was in Spain. So he was in the radius of 50 miles.
Oh, honestly, it's brilliant. So this concept of the world being a smaller place for you, right? Because you have moved around so much and you don't think twice about moving countries, experiencing life, experiencing.
Well, I do think twice, but I still do it.
You still. Right. So this to me is the essence of someone being unstoppable is you worry about it or you think about it, but you still do it anyway, right? You don't let it get in your way. So you moved around a lot and then you met your husband and you moved and you settled in Spain. Tell me a little bit about that. I love Spain and especially the south of Spain. I spent so much time traveling around Andalusia. I learned Spanish for I think about 15 years of my life. I taught Spanish to my little girl from a very young age and she could understand it and she learned different words as well.
Good job.
And then her English was getting too good and I stopped having the time. So I will pick it back up one day.
I would recommend that because it's a gift you can give to your children. Yeah,
this is it. I loved the Spanish lifestyle as well, especially down in Andalusia. So what was it like for you having a family, moving from the Netherlands where you were raised, down to Spain? How was that transition?
Well, it was actually when I met the father of my children. I always said to him, I don't want to grow old here in Holland because I think the world is bigger, you know, and I just hate the weather. I always say Holland is a great country, but it needs a roof.
Yeah.
And
you want to try the UK?
Well, I think that's the same.
It's awful.
It needs a roof and central heating, but he actually initially I always wanted to move back to Greece. I love Greece. I feel so home over there, and maybe also because I lived there for 4 years. I got some really good friends over there. I baptized a little girl over there, so I got like real family. They call it then family. But he didn't want to move to Greece. He said the language is really difficult. Nothing is finished in the country. Like the roads are not finished, the buildings aren't finished. And to me, honestly, Julie, I didn't care. As long as I had an international airport, the sun, mountains and the sea, and good food.
Oh, wow.
And then we just said like, okay, where to go? And automatically it was Andalusia because he loves to ski. He's really a big skier and the kids love to ski. And I don't have a lot with that, but I don't know. You know, I have my wine and my tapa at night. I don't care. And so that's why we picked Andalusia. And we ended up in a very, very small village. So we just flew down there, drove around like, what do we like? And actually the week after that, he said, I'm going again because I still got the feeling I didn't see everything. And then he called me and he said, I know where we're going to live. He said, where? He said, I found a small village. Everything is white and blue here. So you will feel in Greece.
Oh, so was it down on this coast? Because you talk a lot about Malaga. And is it Nerja? Like down?
Well, it's a little bit up there. Yeah, it's Nerja. And then up there, 3 kilometers up there, you got Frigiliana, a very small village. And there he drove and he called me and he said, I think that you would love it. And I said, okay, let's do it.
Oh, so beautiful.
Yeah, it is a beautiful village. But honestly, it took him a few years to adapt to the idea to move. But I lost my parents on a quite young age, and he still had his mom, so he wanted to stick around for his mom. So after funeral, he said, you know what? Let's do it. Who
Oh,
cares?
yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
that's why we moved up to Spain. And just what you said about your daughter speaking Spanish, my kids are raised trilingual, English, Spanish, and Dutch. I think it's a gift. It's really a gift.
Language is a gift. I really
Yeah.
do believe that, because it unlocks the ability to see the world and to
Yes.
learn and to educate yourself about so much. When
Yeah.
you can speak a different language and communicate with people and travel and get yourself into and out of tricky situations wherever you are, you just open up your mind to a different way of life, right?
It is. It is.
Yeah.
And that's what I see now also. My son is going to be 18, and sometimes he says like, oh, Mom, I will go over there on my own. I said, are you sure? He said, I speak my languages, so why not?
Yeah.
I will
See, if
survive. I can manage. I can always find my way home. Yeah, I'm so proud of that. I'm really happy that I have the option and the possibility to give them that gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a beautiful gift. Honestly, I'm such a firm believer in that. And the gift of seeing the world as something that not to be afraid of, that you can go out and experience it and still be connected while
Yes.
you're doing it. I love that. So you touched a little bit then on your injury, and I know you had severe problems with your foot. And I've read this in the start of the book. Tell us a little bit about that, because it feels to me like this all started a bit of a shift in your life around that
that was
time.
absolutely
There
the
were
shift in my life.
many things going on, but tell us a little bit about that.
Well, actually, when I lived in Spain, where we just moved up there, I was really a fanatic sporter. I worked out a lot, so I picked it up again. I met a personal trainer who from the UK, funnily. So we just started and I really was interested in his work. So at the end, I started to do all kinds of educations to be a fitness trainer, but specialized in rehab, in prevention of injuries. But because I worked out that much myself, probably now looking back, specialists in Holland think that was the reason I injured myself. I was overtraining myself. But when you look back, so many puzzle pieces are just, oh, that's why. But at that time, I was just in pain. Like when I walked, it felt like I was stepping on a little pebble every time. So of course I went to see the doctor, and he claimed initially that I had a tumor in my right foot, so it needed to be removed. Of course, you hear the word tumor, so you like that. So okay, yeah, take it out. But then it turned out the pain increased, and I just started limping. I couldn't really work out anymore, but I didn't care. I just still worked out. It was my job. It was my business, so I needed to do it. And it became worse and worse and worse. And after a year, they said that my foot was hypermobile and it was actually falling apart. And now I think, oh my God, how naive was I that I believed him? But at that time, you're in pain. You find a specialist who was recommended a lot on the internet. And so I gave him permission to reconstruct the foot. And after that surgery, my whole foot started to grow. The toes started to grow different ways up. It was all up, to the right, to the left, everywhere except the right way. So I couldn't walk at all anymore for months. I really needed to learn how to walk again. And that personal trainer, that UK English personal trainer, really helped me a lot with that. So I was very lucky that I met him before.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit, and the pain was excruciating. Even your worst enemy, you don't want him to have that pain. And COVID came. I lost my business. I couldn't work out anymore, so I couldn't rehab myself. I got financial problems, of course. I lived in Spain. We were already divorced a few years before that, but we both decided to stay in Spain because of the kids, because they got their life over there. And then because in Spain we had the worst lockdown in the world. At that time, we were not even allowed to leave the house. So I became depressed, and the only thing I had was my mobile phone. And that's how the start of my book started, because that's what I did. Swiping, being on social media. When the border went open a little bit again, I went to Holland for a second opinion. And then I needed 4 recovery surgeries, because it turned out that he performed them in Spain completely wrong. He used the wrong material, and I tried to sue him, but he was not to be found. Later on, I heard he started in Czech Republic a new clinic. So I think it was a charlatan. I don't know. But on the internet, he had extremely good recommendations. So I don't know. But it turned out that in Holland, they decided to completely fixate my foot, so I cannot move my toes anymore. And that was actually the turning point, especially in Spain after those surgeries. I was still in so much pain that I really thought this is it. The only thing that I can really stop this pain, stop this miserable life, is just to step out of it. So it was not even like the depression. It was just the results of the surgery, of the pain. And then I already had my hand full of pills. And you can read that in a book also, because it's not
I've
only
got to
funny,
that
it's also
bit.
about
Yeah.
the depression and the really like the dark days that I went through. And then I cannot even remember that. The father of my children told me later on that the kids came home and they found me. And I was
Yeah.
only like, oh, I want to stop. I want to stop. I want to stop. This is not the life that I want to live anymore. And they called their father and he brought me to a psychiatrist the next day. And that was actually my saving moment that he did that he reacted so fast, because I was really, really, I just wanted to step out of life.
I mean, firstly, how amazing that the father of your children could play that role for you, firstly, even though you're separated. You know, you still had that ability to be there for each other. I've seen so many separations and divorces now in my time, and in my experience, it never really ends that well. So, you know, hats off to you that you could play that role for each other, and how
Yeah.
amazing that he was able to be there for you.
Yeah.
It is something in the book that is like a slow undercurrent, really. And I notice it, the pain, when you talk about your foot, but it's not the purpose of the book,
No.
really, at the start. And you talk about the painkillers start to come in, you know, painkillers and a glass of wine. And I was like, oh, I can kind of almost see some of this. And it's so relatable because it's the backdrop of the online dating, the swiping, meeting up with people, those highs of, oh, who's this guy now? And I recognize that story so much from my own experience of being single, having a young child, coming out of similar but different, awful time of life where I kind of just wanted that bit to end, having glimmers of this, but also really struggling. And tell me more about then that. How did that turn around for you? So you went to see a psychiatrist. How did you get through that? What were some of the building blocks you put in place?
Well, the psychiatrist also noticed that I ran out of some hormones and neurotransmitters that are helping you with transferring pain in combination with depression. So she gave me pure serotonin.
Okay.
And that helped me a lot. It is an antidepressive, and I was always against it. But at that time, I knew that if I would not take it, I would just step out of life.
Yeah.
And the only thing that kept me going was the look on the faces of my kids. I see those faces again now.
Yeah. And I understand that the one thing that kept me going was having a baby, right?
It is.
It was
Yeah.
no matter
Yeah.
what I wanted, no matter how I felt, every single day. It was like
Yeah,
never
I yell at them, I
ending.
scream at them, and sometimes I really think like, I wish I never started you. But those are the real two reasons that keeps me going.
They keep you going every day. I used to think that with
Yes.
her. I would, even in my darkest moments when I didn't sleep for, I don't know, it felt like years. I was such a chronic insomniac. She cried all the time. I was
my
so
youngest
alone.
also.
I felt so alone, and I just thought, I don't know what I'm doing. And then I think I have to keep putting one step forward
One
every
small
day
smile
because of
and you
her.
forget everything.
This
Yeah.
is it. I look
Yeah.
back on some of the photos and I know how
Yeah.
tough that time was. And I look and there's her beaming and I'm like, oh my God, you're so
Aw.
beautiful.
Aw.
I'd do it all again. But oh my God, it was so tough. But I would do it again.
It was. Yeah. No, I think it
Yes.
was the toughest that I've ever did in my life. But no, those two kept me going. And then the psychiatrist also mentioned, like, maybe you got ADHD. And
ADHD.
yeah, and I thought, no. Come on, that's for 12-year-old boys, you know. I don't have it. I'm like, I think I was at that time, I was like 44, 45, maybe 46. And she said, well, the way you're telling me about your life now, the way that you're handling addiction, you know, because at that time I was addicted to painkillers, to alcohol and social media. And I didn't see it as an addiction. For me, it was just an escape. You know, when I was home alone and I was in pain, I just took some pills. I took a bottle of wine and I just started swiping, you know, because then my mind was set on that and I was not thinking about everything else. And I know for sure that was the turning point, that she said, it's just how your brain works. But to me, it never made sense. But now when I look back, it did make sense, because the father of my children is extremely organized. He's extremely, like, the dogs always needed to eat at 5 o'clock.
Right.
Not 5:15, 5 o'clock. Just an example. And I think that for all those years, I relied on that and I coped really good with that, because he was my agenda. And then that fell away. COVID came, so my job, my sports, I couldn't go to work out anymore. I couldn't even walk.
Yeah.
And so I think that because that all just vanished, the only thing I had was the social media and the pills and the alcohol. So yeah, that was absolutely my turning point. I lost really everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the UK, that I've noticed this, it's a topic of real conversation, right? ADHD over here. And I
Yeah.
hear a lot of women, especially in kind of the 40s bracket, talking about it. I've got friends of mine who have been recently diagnosed with this. Start off by telling me a little bit about, because it surprises me that people could go so long in life without recognizing or having that diagnosis for something that then creates such a clicks for them. What
Hmm.
are some of the signs for you looking back that you had ADHD?
When I look back, it was a lot. A lot.
Mm.
When I was like 3, 4 years old, I was always exploring, on my little bicycle was just, I don't know, going to get some bread because I noticed that bread was finished. So I went to the bakery and the whole village was panicking because the girl of 3 years old was gone. And without even thinking, I moved to Ibiza. When I was 15, 16 year old, I came home and I said to my parents, or to my mom at the time, because my parents were divorced, I booked a holiday. Where are you going then? Are you going? I don't know. She said, are you going to one of the Dutch islands? I said, no, France. And I was like 15. So I did a lot of those things. I was always talking to everybody. I was a very good student, but I didn't do anything because it wasn't interested enough. So I was zoning out a lot. I was always staring outside, even falling asleep during lessons. So now when I look back, they were all typical symptoms of ADHD.
Right.
When I lived in Spain, I moved back to Holland because of the injuries, because of the surgeries. Because in Spain, I couldn't survive, especially not with COVID. And then I got burned out. I just came back to Holland. I think it was more that I needed to find a job to get back to my own country. The kids also moved back to Holland, so I became a full-time mom. I worked full-time, just a little bit similar. For you said, I needed to do everything on my own. The kids were raised in Spain, so I needed to help them with school constantly. So when I worked and I started my job at 6 o'clock in the morning, so I worked until 2 or 3, so I was home around 4, so I could help the kids until like 9, 10 o'clock at night. I just collapsed. After a year of doing that. And that was for me also that I really think like I cannot do this anymore. And that is also another symptom, because a lot of women are just running into a burnout on an elderly age because they missed the diagnose. So then I went to do the process to get diagnosed.
And what has that meant to you, having that diagnosis? What has that enabled you to do?
Well, initially I thought I need the diagnose to get medication. But now I needed that diagnose to understand myself more. Because I don't like the fact that they call it a deficit. Actually, I hate it because there's nothing wrong with me.
Yeah.
So when you have ADHD, there's nothing wrong with you. And it almost looks like society is trying to let you believe that you got a deficit. There's something wrong with you. And initially, when I got diagnosed, I thought, I don't want the diagnosis because then I'm broken. There's something wrong about me. But it made me understand myself much better.
Yeah.
Because now I understand, I wasn't just a wild 3-year-old that went to the bakery. I was just adventurous. And I thought that the world is bigger than only my small village. And the same as when I booked my holiday to Ibiza, or I started to live even there. It was not that I wanted to be like a rebel. No, it was just like, why not? Why do I have to stick here? And that's also a symptom, like you just do it.
Yeah.
And why do I switch jobs so many times? I always said to myself, I'm restless. I'm restless.
Yeah.
And, but it had nothing to do with that. It was just the brain that is wired differently. So after 3-4 months of doing a job, it became boring. I didn't have that dopamine kick anymore out of it. So I needed to do something else. It made me understand my book a lot more. Like, why did I did so many stupid things when I was dating? Because I needed that dopamine, because my brain is not really working it, not really making it. So it made me understand me a lot better. And that's why I'm really happy with the diagnosis.
Do you know what? I think that's such a beautiful way of putting it, because I hear a lot of women wanting to get that diagnosis. And I think for some, it's difficult to understand what does that do. But the unstoppable women that I meet all go for a journey of figuring themselves out. And quite often they do that from a place of complete burnout, or where one of life's worst incidences, right? And they have no other way but to figure out who they are. And they do the tough journey, right? And this to you was just part of that journey in figuring out who are you and
Yeah.
how do I work this way and why do I respond this way and how can I build tools or coping mechanisms or patterns into my life to support the way that I work, uniquely me.
Yeah.
And I love the way that you describe it in that way, because who doesn't want to know more about themselves? Who doesn't want to understand why
I
I
think
work
many
in this
people don't
way?
want to know more about themselves. They think it's scary. Like, oh my God, I have to look in a mirror to my own
Oh,
faults and flaws. I think many
and
people don't want to look at themselves.
I understand that, but to me, there's something so beautiful, right, in being able to go, oh, that's me. Like, this is why I did the things I did, and I'm me. There's something gorgeous about becoming comfortable in our own skin.
True,
and
agree.
and understanding ourselves, right? Not being scared of why did I do that, or beating ourselves up, or feeling shame or humiliation. Just saying, I did that because of this, because it's me, because
Yeah,
that's
but
how
there are
I
also
work.
many things I really read back in the book and I really think like, why, Franka, why? And then I look back and I think, well, it made me who I am now.
It makes you who you are now. And I resonate so much with some of those things in that book. I mean, I didn't travel to Sweden or Portugal to go and meet people. I generally stayed in the local vicinity. But some of what you talked about, the reactions, the responses, the pictures you'd get and how you'd respond to them, they're all so relate. The lies, the lines that you'd get, the ghosting out of nowhere.
Exactly,
And
but also the self-doubt, like losing the
Yes.
confidence in yourself, that you really start questioning, like, did I do anything wrong? Did I say anything wrong? You're scrolling back.
Yep.
And that's actually the purpose of that book, because there are a lot of books about online dating, but actually, as far as I know, just a very few, or even none of them, tells something about the person behind the screen. How does it feel to be ghosted? You know, why? You start questioning yourself. Like, I thought we really had a connection. Just what you said, like, I've been to Sweden. We were already in touch for months. And then it got a completely different direction. I really think, like, what did I miss?
Yeah, what did I miss?
Exactly. What did I miss for those 3 months? Am I that naive? So you really start questioning yourself. And that's what I try to explain in the book also. Like, it's not you.
No, it's not. And that was what's so reassuring reading it, because I thought the same. I went on amazing dates, had amazing conversations, and then get completely ghosted. Like, was I not at the right date yesterday? Like, that date was awesome.
Is this the same person? Yeah.
What happened? And I love how you do what I'm trying to do with these podcasts, right? Which is show to others, it's not just you. Other people are like this, right? You had the same experiences. You're not alone in thinking or feeling any of this. So look, Franka, you are now a passionate advocate and you are a speaker for women, women's health, women with diagnosis of ADHD or exploring. Tell us a little bit about that and the space you're now moving into and what that means to you.
Well, I'm trying to inform. First of all, I'm trying to let the women being heard, being seen by me in this case. Like, you're not alone. I understand what you're going through and don't doubt yourself, you know, because the symptoms of ADHD for women are different than for men, because usually women are zoning out. They're more internalizing it. They're not as hyperactive as sometimes they are, but most of the time they're not. Young girls are being told, like, be quiet, don't yell, you know, you behave like a boy, or think before you say something. And usually what I read lately is that children with ADHD are, before they're 12, they've been told 20,000 times more that they're not doing it right.
Wow.
And so when you hear constantly, you're not doing it right, you're not enough, don't do this, don't do that, or think before you say something, it's messy, clean your room. When you constantly hear that, especially most women are just being taught to adapt, you know, to keep quiet. And that's what one of my goals and one of my purposes is, to tell those women, like, it's not you. You're wired differently. And that is fine. It is not a deficit. You were just differently. When we were still living in the cages, you needed people that are going for hunting. You needed the people that needed to focus for 3 days. You needed to have people that were able to see all little detail. It already existed. But in this society, it's called a disorder, but it's not. It is also, it could also be your power, because you are capable of keeping 10 plates spinning at the same time. You are capable of seeing every little detail. And I can go on like that for that. So I'm trying to inform those ladies, but also first line doctors. Because if a woman, and especially around this age, because ADHD is very sensitive together with hormones, it's like double trouble. So that's why women are diagnosed on a later age also, because hormones are kicking in because of menopausing. And with ADHD women, it's usually average of 10 years earlier than normal women. And they get to the doctor and say like, oh, I got brain fog. In the middle of my sentence, I don't know what I want to say anymore. I forget everything. I feel so moody. I feel so cranky. Everything starts hurting in my body. And lately, I read a research that was did in the UK, like hot flashes, is been called symptom number 47 on the list of symptoms with menopausing. And in these days, in the medical world, they still say like, as long as you don't have any hot flashes, you're not menopausing. Okay. So that's my goal also, like to inform the specialist, like, listen, I've never had a hot flash in my life. So I'm not menopausing.
Yeah.
I do have all the other symptoms, but maybe I got one time a hot flash in my life and I thought, oh my God, you really don't want this. And that's so I'm trying to inform also the medical or the companies, the CEOs that are having a lot of females in their company working. Because when a woman is like 40, 42 and she starts falling out, she starts calling in sick, it could be also that reason. And so that is my purpose also, and especially in combination with hormones, because there are a lot of researchers, but it looks like just a very few people really know about it. Yeah. And so I'm working on a theater show now also together with a fellow ADHD woman of my age, just also for doctors to show them in a funny way also, okay, listen, a woman is coming in front of your desk, it's having this and this and this symptom. Think about ADHD, think about menopausing, because it could be that. But they are, myself also, Julie, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, depression, even Alzheimer. They spoke even about Alzheimer because that's what's going on now also. I was diagnosed with postnatal depression. I saw all kinds of specialists, and it turned out to be the double trouble ADHD with hormones. Yeah. So that's what my goal is, like to inform people, but also to show people that it doesn't have to be a deficit. It could also be your strength. Yeah. So
that's beautiful.
Once in a while, I also coach a woman or advise them. But I actually want to, as I said, like the world is at my feet. Hopefully, I can reach a lot of people by speaking and writing about it. My stage will be bigger than when I coach one-on-one.
Yeah. And what an amazing topic and subject, and something that is so needed. Yes. So many of the women that I talk to are in this sphere, navigating some or all of this. And I just know the more we talk about this, the more we share, the more we connect, the better it is for all of us. So I always end these episodes talking about what is an unstoppable woman. And you have touched on so many things here that just light me up in the unstoppable women that I have come across on my journey. Tell me in your own words, what does it mean to be an unstoppable woman?
Never give up. Always, always, always believe in yourself. And there's always a little spark of light. So even when in the most darkest days, and maybe you need help, because a lot of women, we also think that we always need to do everything ourselves. No, maybe you need help from your best friend, from your children, from your partner, from, I don't know, maybe a stranger on the street that can show you that little spark of light. Yeah. And life is great. And it doesn't matter how many times you fall, as long as you get up. And you don't have to be strong. So many people are telling me, oh, you're so strong. I'm not, Julie. I cry. I scream. I speak to my best friend sometimes 5 a day because I'm really crying all the time. But I do get up in the morning again. And every day I think like, okay, what can I do? Hey, I'm looking around me and what is nice? Oh, I see a little flower. I see a puppy. Oh, I see my children watching a movie. And oh my God, I love them. So I always try to look for something that gives me a good feeling. And that's actually,
Franka,
that means unstoppable to me.
That is so beautiful, and I could not agree with you more. There are days where I have felt flawed and I just think, get back up, just take one step, just keep going. And I hope, if nothing else from this series, that there is someone out there listening who is in that place and takes that inspiration. Keep going, because how things feel today is not going to be the same that they feel every other day.
No, but also, Julie, allow yourself to grieve, allow yourself to feel sad. It is not a problem to be in your bed for 3 days with the blanket over your head, like crying your eyes out. There's nothing wrong with it.
No.
But at one point you need to get out and say like, okay, that coffee, ooh, that smell, that really gives me a good feeling. And then stick to that feeling. Like, okay, that coffee is my highlight of the day.
This is it. Find a moment of joy each
Yes,
day. So
yes.
yesterday
Because
I
there
went for a
are, there
run.
is
There
always.
there is always a moment that you can find each day. I went for a run around London in the parks, and it was beautiful yesterday. And I went with a colleague from work, and when we were running, the baby goslings and the cygnets are out, all the little baby ducks. It was gorgeous, and we stopped in the
Exactly.
middle of the run because it's the first time I've seen them this
But that's what
spring,
you
and it
say.
was
Now you're
beautiful.
really saying something really that a lot of people forget. They don't stop to
They don't
watch those
stop.
little duckies.
Yeah, we stopped. We took photos. And
Exactly.
we see them every year, right? We work in London. I've lived in London all my life. It's something that happens every spring, but still, it was that moment of, oh my God,
Exactly.
wow.
You have to
Like, this
highlight
is
that
it.
moment for yourself.
You have to highlight the moments.
Yeah.
Franka, look, so I have a question for you that's been
Mm-hmm.
left from Beth Mazza, who joined us on the last episode from the States. And Beth is a serial entrepreneur. She's grown and sold 4 businesses. So her question is really focused on this. And I know it will resonate with you as someone that has grown their own businesses and has so many ideas about being an entrepreneur and new things that you want to do. But her question was, what was one thing that you told yourself when you started out growing your first business that you were adamant was true, that you just knew inside yourself that was true, that actually turned out not to be true, and you had to really work to change your mind?
I think that I was convinced that I could do everything myself, and I can't. I can't. Everybody has his talents, and there are just many things that I'm not good at. And it sounds really strange as an author, but I'm dyslexic. So, but I really wanted to like do the book myself, but then it turned out it was so full of mistakes, of course. And I think that is something that I really had to turn my thoughts about, is that you cannot do everything on your own. And it's not there's nothing wrong with asking for help. I am horrible in building websites, but I was convinced I'm going to do it by myself. It took me 3 weeks, frustration, sleepless nights in the middle of the night, get in my laptop because I had an image in my mind how I wanted it to look, but I just couldn't. And I felt such an extreme failure. And then I asked somebody that made it. And yes, it costed me money, but it gave me so much relief. And now I'm really happy with my website. Okay. And I think that is the same. And the other thing that I really had is that I had a certain image like, oh, I'm publishing my book. Within a few months, somebody's picking it up and it's going to be the next 50 Shades Sex and the City Bridget Jones movie. It turned out not.
I still think it could be.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so. Maybe somebody's listening to this
much.
episode and said, like, I want to have it. Oh, I think it's going to be an
love
amazing
it.
movie.
Yeah.
But the thing that I always forgot is to see the little steps. I always saw the big picture, and I'm not good in seeing the little steps. So I'm asking for help for somebody that can help me see the little steps. So that's actually what I needed to answer Beth's question, is that ask for help. There's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. You already, as an unstoppable woman, did so much. You went through almost so much. It's not a problem if you ask somebody to help you, even when it is taking care of your child, walking your dog, when you are crying in your bed with the blanket over you. Ask your neighbor to water your plants. It is not a problem.
Yeah.
And take small steps. Just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. Don't care what everybody else is saying and thinking. Just do it.
Keep going,
Keep going.
And keep going. And don't compare yourself to others. Just keep going on your path.
Yeah, but
I love that.
Beth's question is more like, don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
Because I thought that I could do everything myself.
Exactly. And we can't, as much as that resonates so much with me. I built my website. It was hard, right?
That's why you laughed.
So hard. That was like, oh yeah, I did that. Yeah. And Franka, what's your question for the next person joining the Unstoppable Women podcast? What would you like to ask them?
I don't know if you know the series Lucifer.
Mm-hmm.
I love his question. What do you truly desire? What do you truly, truly desire? If I ask that question to myself, what I do truly desire, sit on a Greek beach with a Greek coffee, watching the ocean. That is actually what I truly desire, besides the fact that my kids need to be happy, of course. So that is my question to the next one. Like, what do you truly desire in life?
That's such a short question, but such a complex one to answer. Because I bet many of us wouldn't start with the right answer or know the right answer. at the
Yeah, and I'm
beginning.
not talking about like, oh, I want to have like $1 million company or no,
Yeah.
what do you truly desire?
What do you
What kind
truly
of
desire?
feeling are you chasing?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I can't wait to see what the next guest says in
Me
response.
too.
Franca, thank you so much.
Thank
I
you, Julie.
absolutely love this conversation. I've loved meeting you. I can't wait to see what happens in the second half of the book. We will post the book. We will connect to
Thank
it.
you.
And of course, connect to your website and the promotion that you're doing as a speaker in this space, because it is so needed and so very valuable.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much for your time, Julie.